to the Facing Up podcast with me, Luke Grenfell-Shaw. Today I have got a really special guest who I feel very, very lucky to be speaking to. We are chatting to Sehar, and I met Sehar at the University of Central Asia last year. And in fact, Sehar got in touch with me to try and to do a piece on, I guess, my story. And it was only afterwards when Sehar and I got chatting that I realized, Sehar, you have been through some incredible challenges of your own, but that are so totally different from what I faced. I feel almost pretty out of my depth even coming into this conversation. And I think we might end up talking along the lines of, challenges of, perhaps sort of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, challenges regarding faith and religion, difference of cultures, and the journey that you've been on, which has led you to do some incredible things, and I'm sure is going to take you in an incredible direction. And you've kindly, you're in Pakistan, in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a real pleasure it's a real honor to actually chat today. So welcome, Sehar.
Thank you so much, Luke. Yes, it has been an honor to be in touch with you and know you personally. Honestly, you have given me an optimistic direction in life at some point, and I always tend to I don't know, I'm always attracted to people who have an optimistic viewpoint about life, because I know how it feels to go through some tragic events in life which you didn't really expect or want it to be that way, but it turned out to be something honestly really messy, and you are not able to get out of it, but still you just get into that. You pull up your strength, enough strength, which you don't even have sometimes, to survive, basically. And yeah, I would just give a little bit introduction about myself. You have given mostly. So yeah, I belong from a middle class family of Pakistan. Basically, I'm from Hyderabad, and then we moved to the cosmopolitan city of Karachi to move on with our lives. Hyderabad has played a really important part in my life. Actually, I've lived here for 18 years. And I don't know, whatever I went through in my life, it basically happened in this city. So I have some really bad memories attached to it. And honestly, I never wanted to come back here in this city because I didn't want to, because when you go through some sort of trauma, you relive it whenever you visit that place. But this time when I came back because of the lockdown in Kyrgyzstan, I guess I stepped back into my life to realize that I have passed through that stage, and now it's a different Sehar who wants to do something with her life. So yeah, that's sort of my introduction. And yeah, I'm pursuing communications and media, and the reason to choose that field was, of course, for this world to not have more Sehars like me. I guess that was the reason. Yeah.
Right. So, it sounds that the word formative experience, or the phrase formative experience, seems to be really inadequate in summing up perhaps how you feel and relate to Hyderabad. And you've had to come back at all just sounds like such a challenge in itself. But can you take us through your experiences, the experiences that really stick out to you when growing up here? Like what are you talking about?
Okay, I guess, yeah. So this is the first time actually that I am talking about it, and it might be a bit challenging for me. I apologize for any sentiments that might come through this.
No apologies.
The first time that I shared these experiences was, of course, with my therapist almost 1.5 years ago. And the reason for going for the therapy was because I couldn't keep it inside me anymore. And after the therapy, it gave me courage to openly speak about those challenges to people, to realize, because I always thought I am the victim. I was the reason for whatever happened with me, right?
Mhm.
But going through the therapy made me realize that the one who should be held accountable would be the transgressor rather than me myself. So the reason I agreed to share was also this story with you to be released publicly was because girls like me shouldn't think that this happened because of them. This happened because the person who wanted to do it with you, not because of you. So
Mm.
I don't remember when it started. Honestly, I don't remember when it started, but I remember when I ended it myself. I was 14 years old. I ran to my grandmother's room. I climbed up the bed and he was standing up right there, and he was forcing me to come down, but I pointed my finger towards him and I told him that you should better leave the room or else I'll shout so loudly that the entire neighborhood is going to come together, and I'll not stay quiet this time. You can't touch me. But he pointed his finger towards me as well, and he said that I'm gonna come back and you better watch out for whatever you are saying to me. But that 14 years old me knew that this is the time for this to stop. It can't happen to me anymore. I don't like it. I don't like the sound of it. I don't like the feeling of it. And nobody's allowed to touch me, basically. But I realized it after 14 years. And for all those experiences that I had to go through between these years were terrible, where I don't
Mm.
have any words for it. The moment I even try to picture it, gives me weird sort of, weird sort of horror that climbs up myself. And I just want to stop that imagination right there because it wasn't easy. It was horrible. And the people who say that life moves on, you heal, things happen, and then you have to move on, it's okay. Forget and forgive is the best phrase that you can have in Pakistan. Honestly, when you share the story with people from Pakistan, they are like, forget and forgive, let things go. Life is all about this. You have bad experiences. Dude, no, this is
Right.
unacceptable. This is not something you should forget and forgive and forget. That doesn't happen. An entire life is not enough to heal from that pain. And this can only be understood by the people who go through it. Every day in Pakistan, 10 children are abused sexually. Every day. And these are only the reported cases. Don't even get me started with those cases which don't even go reported because of unsuitable laws that are practiced here. So
Mm.
just imagine that the person sitting next to me maybe have the same story as me, and
Yeah.
you tell me to forget and forgive. It feels like that Pakistan has compromised with the situation rather than mitigating the risks of it. So this is just the clips which I showed you from my past, and there are many things attached to it honestly, because I call myself being the victim of domestic violence as well. And the reason for that is domestic violence is not something when a husband beats up his wife. Domestic violence is a very vast phenomenon in which you go through emotional abuse, in which you go through psychological pressure which is being put upon you to stay silent about whatever happened with you. And I feel like this is kind of unveiling the web of abuse which is nurtured in Pakistani community, in Pakistani families. And when you ask your child to shut up, that means you are psychologically pressurizing that person, and you are telling that person that it's okay if you are abused. So
Did you grow up you thinking that then?
no, this is very funny actually. I thought it's okay, and I always thought that being sexually abused is actually fine. It's totally okay. and I should stay quiet about it. No, I cannot tell this to my mom and dad because their lives will be shattered. They have a very small heart. They have to keep their families together, because joint family is a very vastly accepted phenomenon in Pakistan, which is practiced because they call it as an Islamic value. And especially when the transgressor lives among your own family members, that's when the real tragedy starts, I guess.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was totally fine with it until I went through my therapy and my counselor told me that whatever happened with you was not okay.
So for what, 20 years for you, what happened to you, you thought was okay because that's the society in which you grew up in. Is that right?
Yes, actually that is right. And the funny part is that because I thought that it is okay, I even allowed other people to sexually abuse me. And the funniest part is the number is not just one, it's seven. There were seven different people who abused me, and I thought that it's okay, Sehar, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Because the first time when I spoke about it, I don't remember my age, when I shared this thing with a family member, that person made me realize that I need to stay quiet about it. I need to just shut my mouth, because the person who was abusing me didn't only abuse me, he was abusing a lot of other children as well around me. And I shared that with the person who was also being abused by him. And she told me that it's okay, we should just stay quiet, because she apparently told her mother, and her mother told her that you need to just keep your mouth shut.
My goodness. So it's not just one guy doing this. There's to some degree an acceptance within the whole extended family that this is it, would it be normal, or just that people didn't want to create a fuss?
At that time, I thought that honestly, this was embedded in my mind by my family members, that if I'm going to speak about it, uh, maybe my grandfather is going to die of this pain. Maybe my grandmother will just pass away listening to this thing. That because, we have to keep in mind here that you're talking about Pakistani society, where almost Pakistan has ranks number one in the case of honor killings every year. If a girl becomes the victim of rape, or if a girl is involved in sexual relationships before marriage, then they are killed in the name of family honor every year. And
so
the things which were attached to my life for all these lives were sex and virginity. Apparently, if I have been the victim of sexual abuse and rape when I was a child, I'm not a virgin. And this is unacceptable to say in Pakistan. Honestly, if someone is going to listen to me right now, I guess they're just going to kill me, because this is what happens here. And but I couldn't keep it in my heart anymore. I had to vent out. I had to break this abuse cycle which is being nurtured in my own family, in my own society. I can't take it anymore, because I know there are so many Sehars outside there crying over this shit every day in their life. The same way every night I dream, and I just I have this nightmare, and I wake up suddenly that someone is touching me. Oh my God, I hate that feeling. And I know there are so many other girls as well. And I personally know, honestly, every fifth person in my friend circle is being abused during their childhood. And they have only revealed their stories to me because I revealed mine to them. But they know, and they even tell me that, Sarah, just forget and forgive. But dude, I'm not going to do that.
And when you people, can you just when people say forget and forgive, to all the people out there, all the perhaps the young Pakistani women, not just ladies in Pakistan, but I think probably across the whole globe. Why do you feel forget and forgive is completely the wrong strategy? What do you say to that?
Because first of all, we cannot forget. That is not possible. It's almost impossible to forget when someone touches you without your consent, when someone tries to come closer to you inappropriately, and especially when someone threatens you after doing that to you. That if you even dare to speak up about it, you're going to even get the worst. This is what the threats we received. So apparently forgetting is not a choice. And yeah, my so-called religion tells me to forgive people for their sins and mistakes because that's when Allah forgives you for your sin. But dude, I was just what do you expect? That being staying quiet and then forgiving that person? I don't think so. That's possible in my book, at least. I guess fighting for justice is when you get the true reward, and that's the forgiveness I can give you.
Yeah, it sounds like there's another part to it as well, that if you forgive and forget, nothing's going to change either, and the men and the society in which they operate will continue seeing it as permissible.
True. And I just hate it when my society accepts and compromise about the stuff which is not okay, to even basic humanity, I guess. And this shouldn't be permitted, I guess. No, this is not allowed. This is not even acceptable at any cost. No, not for me at least.
Yes. And how you've been doing some things to try and change the I'm struggling for words here. I'm struggling for words throughout this, to be honest. You've done some incredibly brave things. I think probably starting from going and talking to a counselor, but in some ways that was the beginning. Am I right in saying? I'm very cautious about almost saying anything at all, because I'm just totally out of my depth here.
I'm so sorry. I understand. No, it's not easy.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I want to understand and learn. When I tell people about my cancer, I don't want them to be sorry, but if they can understand, then that's great. And I'd love to try and understand the journey that you've been on and what you want to say to other people who might have faced similar challenges.
I don't think so that I have done anything brave until now, but I would say that what I am trying my best is people to understand that compromising is not the solution. When you compromise with something wrong, you basically nurture it and you don't realize it. When you tell girls, when a girl is stepping outside from a house in Pakistan, she's being told that take your scarf with you, come back by 9 p.m. Instead, what I want people to do is when a boy is stepping outside their house, tell him that if you come across any girl, take her as your own sister, take her as your own mother. Please don't harass her. Please don't abuse her in some way. So basically what I want people to understand is just shift your perspective a little bit, and especially the women in Pakistan. They are actually the ones who nourish the abuse. They are the one, because they are accepting it and they are taking it as something which is okay. They are basically encouraging more men to do the same thing. And that's where the cycle continues. And that's what people don't realize here. I know this is almost like this is almost impossible to find a girl from Pakistan telling her own sexual abuse stories and accepting it publicly, but somewhere it has to start. When we speak about it, we are telling people that actually this didn't happen because of us. Like, for example, the most common stereotype which you come across in Pakistan when a girl is raped is because the way she was dressed. She was basically inviting men to come and rape me. But what would you say to a child? I was not dressed inappropriately. I didn't invite that guy to come and rape me because I don't even remember my age. Oh my God, when did it start? It happened so many times that honestly, I can't even recall all of those times. Every time I go through therapy, there's one more scenario which pops in my mind. Oh my God, that happened too. And there was a time when I sat down with my counselor and actually counted how many guys abused me because the times are uncountable. So that's the only thing which I want to tell people is stop accepting it as it's normal.
Oh my God. I'm just, one of the questions I have in my mind is why you feel that it is so prevalent in Pakistan. Maybe it's not more prevalent in Pakistan than other countries, but I think it is one of the most prevalent countries with the highest rates of sexual abuse. Why? What needs to change most of all?
The first thing which I don't want, but what is needed to be changed is stop hiding it under the cover of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Stop hiding it and taking it as it's something like, you know, most of the abusive things which are practiced in Pakistan openly are hidden behind the curtain of religion. Like,
So you're
just as
saying that Islam is the people, some couch these actions in being part of Islam in their minds.
of course, I do think that, and I actually believe it uh, because there are two types of religions around the world. The first one is the real religion, and the second one is human version of that religion. Taking it from Christianity to Buddhism to Hinduism to Islam. I believe there are always two versions of any religion. And if you practice the real version, then please, for God's sake, don't practice the human version too. Because you're basically manipulating people, you're basically blackmailing them under the cover of your religion, your faith. Because when a girl is stopped from talking about anything, it's because sex and virginity is so tabooed by the religion of Islam that, because, like, what is the most important thing in our religion? To avoid getting indulged into any sort of sexual relationships before your religion. Girls are being protected because they don't want to break their seals. They still want them to stay virgin before they get married to, and the only person who is allowed to have sex with her is her husband. That's it. Regardless of that condition being taken, a man is allowed to have sexual relationships with his wife and his slave. Of course, slavery is not open in Pakistan, but of course there are many girls who are used for sex trafficking to be sold as slaves just for the use of sex workers. And Kashmir is just one of the biggest examples. Kashmir is the hub of these things, and everyone knows that. So I just wanted to clarify my point here is that considering that point of sex and virginity, a woman is not allowed to even speak about her rape story, her uh, abuse stories because of Islam. Because the
Because
way
of Islam.
society portrayed Islam, because the way society portrayed Islam to her since childhood, she's not able to talk about it.
Can you go into more depth here about what exactly Islam says? Because there are differing versions of Islam from very orthodox to much more liberal, what are women told in the name of Islam in Pakistan, or from what you've heard?
Just an example would be that since childhood, I have been told to cover myself completely, otherwise I am inviting people to rape me. And whenever I step outside from my house, I am forced to take on scarf, or I'm never even allowed closely to wear Western dresses here. Of course, no one wears because we are allowed to cover ourselves properly. And even if we don't take scarf, just the dress which I'm wearing right now is covering my entire body, except that I didn't take that scarf in my neck or on my head. And even in this way, if I go outside, people keep on staring at me. And on the other side, if a girl is covering herself properly in hijab, I don't know if you understand what hijab is, but hijab means to cover the girl, even her face, her head, her neck, everything. Not even her fingers are being shown. Only her eyes can be seen in hijab. Still,
Yeah.
that girl is being harassed too. But what I'm told at my house is if you don't wear proper clothing, then you will be harassed. But that's not true. And the biggest example is my Facebook page. Honestly, just 2 weeks ago, I posted a video in which I told people that justice is not given to justice is not given to rape victims in Pakistan, in which I spoke about my thoughts openly to people, and there were almost 25,000 views and some 300 comments from I don't know,
Wow.
random boys harassing me. Why, who the hell given you that right to speak about it and go and wear proper dresses? Because I was wearing a t-shirt in that video. So people
Oh
were
my
telling
goodness.
me, stop speaking English and don't go outside your house. Wear proper
Wait, I
clothing
thought
and
these were
you're not
messages of support. I thought you were like 25,
no.
300 comments of people saying like, "Well done, Sahar. This. We just need more of this." But no, you. Oh my
Can you even
goodness.
imagine? I received an email, like abusive email from a guy, from a random guy, that stop posting such videos or you will become the victim of honor killing. And I was like, okay, dude, yeah, we will see that. But the
Oh,
interesting fact is, I don't care about those 300 comments. I care about those 2 or 3 comments from those girls who shared their stories that even we were wearing hijab, we were covering ourselves properly, yet we were street harassed. So I took screenshots of those messages, and I also took screenshots of the guys who posted that wear proper clothing and don't go outside. And I posted that as a separate status saying that, see, you reveal yourself, your own identity in the same video in which you're trying to harass me. That dress is never the reason for rape. The reason for rape is always the rapist. That's it. So this is just an
goodness.
example of
Yeah,
human version of Islam in Pakistan.
my goodness. I just I'm trying to sort of work this through in my mind myself, because it's a very imperfect analogy in a lot of ways, but it kind of what it sounds like to you, what it sounds like what has happened to you, as it is if when I said to everyone and I said, I have cancer, that was like for me, that was like a big thing. Like I kind of came out, and it's nothing compared to you, but like that, but all the messages I got were incredibly supportive. And it sounds like you've done something similar, and yet you've got like 297 messages of people telling you that's a you're in the wrong. That you're not doing a good thing to be talking about this, and only 3 positive messages. And it's like if everyone had told me that, oh, you have cancer, you should just sort of stay under a rock. You're damaged human being, and that's kind of it. It sounds almost absurd, but that's exactly what's happened to you for just um, asserting not even like a not even at like a basic right for women, but just talking about coverings, you know, that's that's kind of almost below basic, and just if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
It's so
definitely makes
minor in
sense.
theory.
But you know what? Just if you will be talking to me 1.5 years ago, I'll be
Mm,
that scared little Seher, just maybe 6 years old or 7 years old, who didn't come out of her shell, and she was completely traumatized, shattered, broken. You know, like for example, when you would have been given the news that you have cancer, the way you have would have reacted. I don't want to come out of my room. My life is under a full stop. I don't know. I don't want to live. And every human being goes through some sort of traumas in their life. They have their share of issues that they have to face, I guess. And 1.5 years ago, I was that Seher, I guess, I was extremely introvert. I wouldn't be making friends that easily. And, but when I went through my therapy, the one thing which I realized was there is a light at the end of tunnel. It's just when do we decide to see that light? When do we decide to uncover that light and become a part of it? Instead of just watching it from that, sitting inside the tunnel, I don't think so we are ever going to achieve anything. And
mm,
the version which I have become right now is that no matter how many rebuttals I'm going to face in my life, all I want myself to know is that I'm not going to stop. Even if those 300 messages were 5,000 messages, including my family members, because I know the day they are going to know that I'm giving interviews about this thing, they are going to disown me right away. But I guess I don't care. I don't care. It's not, I don't love them. I love them so much. They are my whole world. Who doesn't love their parents and their siblings? Everyone loves them. But I want them to know is I won't choose them over 1,000 girls like me, I guess. Because I know how it feels to just be that one Seher, so I can't even imagine the pain of those 1,000 others. And it's okay if they disown me, but I know secretly maybe they will be proud of me that I didn't give up. So
I think um, it's just a that's just a horrible situation to be in, and I know that everyone listening to this will be rooting for you, Sehar, and that probably isn't very much compared to your family, but I'm kind of blown away. Um, I was wondering how you talk about this light at the end of the tunnel. What for you was this process of turning of being very introverted to um, it being a really powerful driving force for you to try and change Pakistan and the lives of other young women for the better. How did that happen? How did that journey happen?
um,
And it's still happening, I guess, as well.
I would just say acceptance that all those things happened to me. Because you know what? For 20 years, I didn't even said this thing, even for once, to my shadow. Can you imagine? Even for once to my shadow, I never confessed that it ever happened. And the moment it came out of my mouth, it seemed like those nightmares are actually coming and standing right in front of me. And it's like, it's on repeat telecast. Repeat until you finally accept. Because, and of course, it can be in any journey, taking it from illness to sexual abuse. You have to accept. If you don't accept that this happened, how can you get over it? Because when you utter your own traumas to yourself, I guess that's when your body neutralizes the pain. And that's where your body takes a chance to move forward your past. And it's not even about forgetting your past. You can never forget your past because there's no undo button in life. You have to relive it to get over it, I guess.
Right. So there's no easy way of getting over it.
No, it's awful. It's pathetic. It's really worst, I guess. And even yesterday, I had a really bad panic attack. Really bad panic attack, thinking about all those things. But every time, I guess the pain is a bit more easier than it was before it. And sometimes there will be days when it will be worse than when it happened, because your body is accepting that pain. But I'm pretty sure there will be days also when you will be the most powerful one for yourself.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know. This is so challenging because like I have this
I understand.
I have this idea that like you know, like challenges, if we can get through challenges, then you know, then we can be stronger people with more motivation, or like you know, thirst for living on the other side. And when I don't know, I'm hearing this and I'm kind of like um I just blown away and just not really, it just feels wrong to try and put a positive spin, I suppose, on like what has happened to you and happens to many young women in Pakistan and around the world, and to try and say now that like, okay, Sahar, tell me how this is made, you know, positive in your life. It just sounds like I'm talking like complete bullshit. Sure. Like, so
That is so true, actually. I know sometimes when people tell me, but it has turned you into a really strong person, I was like, fuck it, who cares? It ruined my life. It ruined me. Who cares about being a positive person? But I try my best not to spread my negativity, which is inside me, to other people.
Yeah.
Except my counselor. Yeah. I am pretty sure she needs her counselor when I leave the room, because I put so much negativity on her. But I don't know.
Can you tell us how you are using the experiences that you've had to try and reduce the possibility of that happening to other young women in Pakistan? Because you've mentioned a little bit, and I know you've got a Facebook group, you know, Sapiens of Abuse. But can you take us through what led you there? And like, we met at the University of Central Asia in Kyrgyzstan, where you studied media and comms. Did you go there knowing that you wanted to be able to communicate your story or the stories of other young women? How did that happen? And
Actually,
what's
no.
where?
I wouldn't brag about it. So when I landed in UCA, actually, I didn't have any dreams. I didn't have any motives. All I wanted was to graduate. The first thing I landed in UCA, of course, was to get away from Pakistan, to never return to this country ever again, to actually never see my family members too. I only wanted to stay in touch with them over call, because somehow I always blamed them for whatever I went through. Even now, even now when I go through some sort of panic attacks and I become too negative, I somehow blame them for whatever happened and how I'm suffering through the pain. But slowly and gradually, actually, I realized, especially, I give all my credits to my therapy, that And especially, okay, so there is a little bit twist in my story as well, and I want you to know that as well. So when I was 16 and a half, I started dating a guy here in Hyderabad, and I was dating him for almost 5 years. And I don't know, I don't want to blame him for anything, but because I was a very shy introvert and a person who would keep everything to myself, I never even shared my traumas with him as well. Within the course of 5 years, I never even uttered a single word that I am going through depression. And because of going through severe depression, I guess I allowed him to abuse me as well. But that was exceptionally like emotional and psychological abuse. So a big, and because I was too weird around physical relationships, so we never had that one. But uh, whatever he would tell me to do, I would do that. And considering coming from a Pakistani society, we have been taught to listen to boys always, because that's what
Yeah,
happens in our house as well. Because what you
yeah,
see, you process it and you embed that procedure for your body to do whatever is happening since childhood around you. So
yeah.
I did whatever he used to tell me. He told me to never make friends. I never made friends. He told me to stay quiet. I used to stay quiet. He told me never attend social gatherings. I never attended social gatherings.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
it was like he was running my life and I was allowing him to operate my life completely. One
And
day, out
that's
of
just
nowhere,
normal, and that just
yeah,
felt normal to you. And
yes.
yeah,
Can you imagine? Every sort of
strange.
abuse was normal to me. It was like my body was programmed to let people come and abuse me. So, and and yeah, that is so traumatizing when I think about it right now. It is so sad. But after 5 years, out of nowhere, one day he just broke up with me. And honestly, I wouldn't lie, but I loved that guy so much because I don't know, I really loved him, and I don't understand what love exactly is, but whatever it seems like some messy thing, I loved him back then. So when he
I'm
broke up with me, yeah, sure,
I'm
ask.
this guy who just told you to do anything, like, just kind of controlled your life and stopped you from making friends and stopped you from going out and meeting up with people. You It almost seems really difficult to believe that you loved this guy who was so like restrictive.
But I loved him back then because for
Yeah.
me that relationship was perfectly normal. And
Okay.
okay, so when he left me and we got apart, and I was in UCA. So now just imagine in a perfect scenario, no family, no parents, especially no Pakistani society, and no boyfriend. I
Yeah.
was allowed to do anything I wanted to do. So
Yes.
the first thing what I did was make friends, start talking to people, and the best thing was I was going outside, I was partying, and especially credit my roommate. She afforded me a room. And slowly and gradually, I started exploring the Seher who was dead. And at that time around, I got an opportunity to go to Kenya for a week as well. And it in Kenya, I was forced to socialize because I was there as UCA ambassador. So I don't know, but meanwhile, I just got a chance to know who I am. And one sudden day, I just left this message to my counselor right after 1 month of my breakup. I want to talk. And she was so compassionate. She was so loving. And she came from my own background. She was Pakistani. That was the best thing that happened to me because she understood completely. Because maybe being a UK citizen, it's hard for you to process stuff, whatever I'm telling you. It's like, oh my God, all of the sudden so much information to absorb. But
It's a very
that
different
wasn't the
set of values and
yeah,
expectations. Like,
exactly.
it's hard for me to get my head around the things that are normal and accepted in Pakistani society. I'm just like, WTF, like,
I know, I
but
understand.
but this is why I feel this conversation is so important to have, to understand better.
Exactly, yeah. So the best thing was just that my counselor was Pakistani. She understood my emotions, and I didn't tell her about my past like that. But it took a while to get to know each other. But she she treated me like my sister, and that was the thing which welcomed me to just speak about it. And that was sort of a transition from an introvert to a girl who can speak about stuff openly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I need to cough a bit.
Ah,
I got this tickle on my throat. Not very not doing a good job there. Okay. And so you had, a whole series of counselling sessions, or chats with your counsellor, and from this, Sehar began to blossom.
mhm.
I think it's fair to say. How have you used the opportunities at UCA? Like, what have you been trying to do? You weren't thinking about it when you arrived, you just wanted to get away from Pakistan. But I mean, apart from the pause with COVID, you're still a student there. Like, where are you? What are you hoping to do?
Actually, the best opportunity at UCA is just for myself to heal, I guess. Other than that, I don't want to live there anymore. Actually, I want to come back to Pakistan. I want to live here. I want to meet people who had same tragedies like me. I want to console them and let them know that it's okay to speak. The first and basic rule for me is to speak. Speak your heart out, whatever there is. And honestly, like I don't want to sound mean. The entire world is under lockdown. I hate coronavirus, but I love coronavirus because it gave me a chance to come here in Pakistan, especially. And now I really want to connect with my family as well. I don't blame my family members anymore because I understand. So see, I just keep myself in those 20 years how it was okay for me to accept those things. The same thing is happening with them. Their mind is trained the way they are behaving. It's not their mistake. Yes, it is their mistake if they are informed, if they know what is happening, yet they allow it to happen. But if there is no awareness, if there is no explanation for whatever is happening, then it's not even their mistake, I guess. This is just the way they are trained.
Are you saying they weren't aware?
uh, like the way I was not aware, I would say they aren't aware as well for me.
So are you saying that they knew what happened, but they weren't aware that it was bad?
No, 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 not about my sexual abuse and stuff. I would just say here the way people cover everything under Islam, and they like because there's no correct knowledge of Islam. There is religious illiteracy in Pakistan as well. So, for example, I was listening to this podcast by Dr. Zakir Naik. He's one of the famous Islamic preacher in Islamic world, and people consult him for any sort of Quranic knowledge. And I was just listening to his podcast about sex with slaves in Islam, and the way he gave explanation was awful. He literally said that it is okay to slave someone and then have sex with them. And there was no religious knowledge, no background, nothing at all over
This is
there.
a respected Islamic scholar who says it's okay to
Yes,
have sex with someone if they're your slave.
exactly. And so I did my own background knowledge and stuff, background checks and stuff in Quran, and apparently, yes, that's true. It's okay to have sex with slaves in Islam, and that's very sad.
Where has
Uh,
this left you and your religion? Because you must have grown up as a Muslim.
yes, and I'm so sorry. I don't know. Like honestly, uh, This is the personal struggle I was talking about when we started this podcast, actually. Um, I don't know. It makes me cry so much. Uh, I have no words. I'm speechless because I don't know what to say here. But for me, of course, non-consensual sex is unacceptable considering my own history. And then when my own faith tells that, I don't know, it's so confusing because it says sex with slaves is allowed. Of course, slavery is never consensual. And on the other side, Quran says that rape is a sin. Rape
Mm,
means non-consensual sex. So it is so contradicting in its own words. I was just writing it down as well. It is actually written in Surah 23 in Quran, ayat 1 to 6, which says that a man is allowed to have sex with his slave, female slave. So, and I don't know, uh, it broke me, honestly. It shattered me into pieces because for my whole life, I was looking for justice through Islam. Honestly, I won't lie here because my country runs according to Sharia rules. The courts in
mhm,
Pakistan run according to Sharia rules, and
mm,
I wanted to have justice. I'm planning, actually, that's one of my biggest plans, is to get the transgressor behind the bars. Of course, this is unacceptable for me, and to have justice will be an example for so many girls like me in my country. But it's the same country, it's the same religion which allows non-consensual sex. What kind of slavery is consensual? What kind of slavery? Even not in West, where you talk about consent all the time. Oh my God, I don't
it doesn't.
know.
I mean, it's totally contradictory, and
It
it's
is,
been
and
perverted.
the point where you ask me where did it leave me with my religion, I guess nowhere. Right now, I honestly feel like I don't know. Yesterday, when I had this panic attack, the only thing which hit me so hard was to to feel like a prostitute for my whole life. You know, where my culture allowed people to abuse me, where my society accepted it as normal, and now my religion permitting it. I don't have anywhere to go, I guess. Any door to, because of course my family isn't going to support me with my decisions. I don't even know any friends who can make me feel comfortable about this story, and if you don't even have your faith left, I guess you are hopeless. But I don't know if I'm made of some sort of weird thing, but I don't want to stop still.
Something stronger than titanium, I think. Um,
And
um,
I want this world to know, no matter how many times they're going to break me, even Islam and Islamic teachings, that's not going to happen anymore.
are you've chosen to? You said you wanted to sort of come back and stay in Pakistan, and that's despite the it's the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Is that what it's the
Yes,
official?
it is Islamic Republic of Pakistan, definitely. And I have its passport as well. But
So you've chosen to, well, I mean, you haven't chosen in the context of COVID to come back, but you said you wanted to come back to Pakistan, and that sounds like such a difficult option to,
but my
given what
life
you just said,
hasn't
that the
been
whole country doesn't understand, has a completely different value system to
my
yours.
life hasn't been easy anyways, right? So it doesn't matter anymore how hard it is. I guess it is harder. It has been harder when I was a child than it is right now for me. And I know it would never be easy because all the doors are closed, but and I can't even say a last door is open because honestly, it's so funny. But I don't know. I will see where life takes me, I guess. But I will definitely choose to help at least myself through this.
Yeah, it sounds though that you have been doing some really positive things right now to try and hmm, voice, bring more awareness to sexual abuse and violence in Pakistan, and begin to change the way that people think about this. And I'm sure it will take years, if not decades, generations. Um, and that seems like an amazingly worthwhile thing to do, um, in itself. Um, can you just tell us? I think there's going to be so many people listening to this who are going to be blown away by what you've said and would like to help you in what you're trying to achieve. Can you tell us what you've done so far and what plans, where do you see it going?
I haven't done so much so far, I guess. The only thing I credit myself is just to heal myself properly. That's one of my biggest achievements. Healing is a continuous process, and it's okay even if you have to restart it all over again. That's totally fine. But at least embarking on this journey is one of my biggest achievements, I guess. Uh, I wouldn't really count a lot of things, but the only achievement which I really see myself as for myself is opening up this social media platform, Sapiens of Abuse, because that page has given me an inspiration to be more public about things. People say that keeping your privacy is really important, but for girls like me and people like me, being public is more important
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing private for you anyways left in your life. So why not make it public in a good way, in a positive way in which you can really inspire others as well. Yes, I get 80% threatening messages, but I guess I get 20% supportive messages as well. And I would like to keep those 80% in my spam because that's where they belong from.
Yes.
So uh, yeah, so this is just one of my achievements, I would say, and especially opening this page in Pakistan
Yeah.
is almost impossible. So
I I mean, you play down your, what you've done, I think a huge amount, because what you're doing, what you've done is, I think is nothing short of incredible, that you've come, you've gone through part the way through a healing journey, which will never end. Um, and yet you're then not taking what some might see as an easy option, but you're, I guess, putting yourself in some ways a very vulnerable situation, going with this stuff online. But I guess maybe it doesn't feel as vulnerable because of what's happened before.
yes, definitely. And for me, studying communications and media, I realized one thing, that media can actually change the world. Media can change a lot of stuff, and it is a very powerful tool. And people have saved their lives because of media. And they have even escaped countries like Saudi Arabia. So living in Pakistan is not a big deal at all, definitely. So I would say that yes, it does keep me in a very vulnerable position, and especially I have to fight with my family at some point as well, for considering the stuff that goes online. And of course, they are following every move of mine, even on social media. But
Really.
but they But I guess I do give them some really good arguments and some really rational arguments when I keep those things online. So I
Mm.
guess, yeah, I can at least live through that. That's fine for me.
I really hope that your family learn a lot from you.
I hope so.
And is there anything anyone listening to this, like from the UK or from the US, is there a way that they can help what you're trying to do?
I would just say there are a lot of Pakistani girls stuck in UK and US as well, and we do come across stories in which they are being domestically abused. Their rights are being violated even in Western countries, and they are not able to escape their families. And some even become the victim of honor killing, even in UK and US, who belong from my country. I I would just say that look out for those people, and if you know, don't refrain from helping because they really do need your help. They do need your support. They do need a very safe zone in which they can talk and heal themselves and become a stronger version of Seher.
Mhm. Maybe this is a really rubbish question, but I'm almost embarrassed to ask it. But like, how? I'm just trying to put myself in the situation of how would I know? And maybe this is just like a really easy cop out. Or maybe a better question is, how is it best to help if you see someone just you know, you're not on the street right now, but you know, who maybe, you know, you just walks by you and maybe they're from Pakistan, maybe they're from Brighton. What's the best thing to do to help if you're not really sure of someone's situation and you're kind of seeing it from afar or as one stranger to another? Would there have been something that would have made a difference to you?
Honestly, I do go through this problem as well. And the only thing which I try to do with those people is make them feel comfortable around me. And that's the best way I guess I can help. It's not really important to definitely take their family members to police and get them jailed and behind the bars and go through the cases. I guess just being a friend on which they can count on is also a very big help to people like me, I guess. Because growing up, I didn't really have a friend. I didn't have a safe zone for me. And still, like, I can count on very, very, very few people to which I really share my complete stories with. And because, of course, when you go through some panic attacks, you just remember something which was so terrible to you, and you can only speak about that to someone on whom you can trust completely. So, when I come across such people and I have a doubt that they might be going through something, I just try and talk, not exactly asking them, oh my God, I think you're going through domestic abuse, but maybe, hi, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Is everything okay with you? You can trust me. These are some words which we long for, I guess. And growing up, I did long for these words because I didn't come across any single person who said this to me. How are you? And in a really, really, really meaningful way in which he or she really meant it. Now I
Mm,
can really judge if someone says that to me because I know how it feels.
wow. I'm yeah, as you can hear, I don't really know what to say and what to think. That this has been immensely an immensely challenging conversation just to hear how brutal the how brutal humans, men, can be, and how their impact, maybe, I don't know, maybe this guy like has kind of it's kind of a memory for him. It's like forgotten, but the impact is something that the other person has to live with like every single day. That's horrible.
I'm so sorry it was too much for you, I guess.
Oh, it's not, I know it's not too much. I think it's so important that I'm trying to vocalize, put into words like what you've told me, because I think it's so important, particularly in the UK and in America, where we think our lives are tough because we can only leave the house once a day for exercise or something, that these things happen. They really happen, and it's so easy for us to forget them and ignore it. So thank you so much for sharing something deeply, deeply personal. Thank you, Sehar.
I don't think so. It's personal, but yeah, thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak about it.
Is there sort of one thing you would like people to take away from this conversation?
Just accept whatever happened with you. That's the key to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's it.
And I see you as someone who's shown incredible strength of character, accepting what's happened to you and then moving forwards and onto some things which hopefully will have a really positive impact on the lives of other young women in Pakistan. Could you say that there was one thing that helped you most of all to get to that didn't keep you dragged under, I suppose?
I guess counseling. Yeah, that is something which I would recommend. If you go through such things, even if you don't want to go public like me, don't want to talk about it, at least talk about it in a safe space where you think you're comfortable. It is not even necessary to stand against everything, but it is really, really, really important for you to heal. And therapy is something which we take for granted, which we ignore, which we don't realize is important, but it is really important in your life. At least for your own sake, it is really important.
Thank you, Sehar. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.